Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd.
This astrology report is for the week of November 26th. We are head first into Sagittarius season this week. It is a big, heavy, loaded moment for the Sagittarius energy, as we have just had Mercury station retrograde and going to be doing an entire retrograde there in the sign of Sag, and also a new moon in Sag this week, and that's actually the first day of December. So lots going on within the Saggy world. Where is that in your astrological birth chart? You know, what area of life is all of this going to be affecting you? That's one way that you can really hone in on the personal astrological message, is with your birth chart. And I'm going to go ahead and be looking at the Mercury retrograde chart and the Sagittarius new moon chart here in the show today. And we're just going to kind of break down and move through the energies here together. And Mercury went into the shadow on November 7th. So that's really the official beginning of the Mercury retrograde cycle. And when a planet stations retrograde, it is a time, it's actually an optical illusion for the astronomers out there. You can look up and actually see the planet. And it appears to be moving backwards in its orbit in the sky. And it's an optical illusion from our vantage point here on Earth. The angles and the speeds at which the orbs are spinning and passing each other in space is creating that optical illusion. So a retrograde planet moving backwards, and in astrological terms, in terms of the astrology, this is a time when we would actually return to past themes in our birth chart there, or just looking back to November 7th. So we're actually going to be returning to those themes. And so, working within these cycles here. So kind of mapping this out a little bit and seeing where this Mercury retrograde and what's been happening in your life, since November 7th. And then now, November 25th, the second checkpoint in on the Mercury retrograde. And this is the day that we actually station and stop and start the backwards motion. So the first phase, we've come up through it, we've been introduced to the themes, and now we're going to start returning and start to actually make the edits and figure out how we're going to reconfigure as we move back. We want to use this time wisely, because we do get an opportunity to move back and fix anything that didn't go exactly the way that we wanted it to. So in terms of Sagittarius, Mercury retrograde, get ready to look at things differently. Sagittarius is an absolutely sort of visionary sign. They see things just a little bit differently than the rest of the signs. Well, every single energy is going to see things just a little bit differently. So we kind of pick through and say, okay, here we are in Sagittarius. What types of themes are we going to be working on? So Saggies are the big visionaries. We've got big ideas coming out with Sagittarius. This is a fire sign. So we've got big expressions coming out. We have, as an energy that needs to be heard, that wants to be seen and puts on a show and flickers and flames and dances like the fire when it has an audience to do that for. Sagittarius is not afraid to stand up in front of others and express what it is that they're seeing, their vision and their ideas, and what's coming up for them within their inner flame, that inner fire that Saggies carry with them. And we are represented here by the archer. And the archer is got their bow and arrows, and they are shooting these arrows of truth and of vision and sending them out into the greater world, into that distance. And so Sagittarius helps us see things differently. It widens our perspective a bit, especially coming from the Scorpio energy. Scorpio is deeper and darker. And then when we move into Sagittarius, we get a lighter point of view. It's a little more playful. It's a little more carefree. Sagittarius energy tends to dive in to the new adventure head first. They just love a new adventure. We are not afraid of stepping out of the comfort zone when a fire sign is housing the sun. And in terms of the Mercury retrograde, there is going to be an impact here. The retrograde usually makes us want to go internal. Saggies usually a little more external. They shoot the arrows out. But now we need to figure out during this Mercury retrograde how to turn the arrows back in and shoot them within into these grand visions that we have for ourselves, and retrogrades helping us to slow things down a big amount. Fire doesn't usually like to slow down. They're very action oriented. And so we could be like feeling compelled to do a lot, but yet still feeling like it's very important to be within. And that is a little bit of the push and pull of a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius, also in an opposition with the ruling planet of Sagittarius, Jupiter, who is in Gemini right now, retrograde also. And because Gemini is ruled by the planet of Mercury, and Sagittarius is ruled by the planet of Jupiter, and they're both housing each other's planets here. They call that a mutual reception. And so there is this beautiful mutual reception going on between Sagittarius and Gemini, which are across from each other in the astrological charts. And Gemini is an energy that wants to bring in new ideas and wants to ask a lot of questions. And Jupiter is there. Jupiter is there asking those questions, expanding on those, because Jupiter wants to expand everything that it touches. So right now we have our Saggy planet over there asking big questions, having mental expansion. Mercury and Gemini are a mental sign. This is where the mind does a lot. Gemini are very mental people. They're always thinking, always have questions, very, very present in conversations with people also. And so this mutual reception going on between Jupiter and Mercury, both in retrograde, both in like pretty masculine outer signs. Sagittarius, Gemini, outward signs. Like you like other people and you're not afraid to express and be out and more external. This is really, they say that these planets are both in their detriment in these signs also. So very loaded. There's something going on with this that we are going back and grabbing on to themes in the past that we need to fix. There could be a lot coming up just from the past, as we do have a square with Saturn during this Mercury retrograde. Folks that have Sagittarius planets and points already know that everything's been squaring Saturn in Pisces, and we've been working with that for a little over a year now since Saturn moved into Pisces. So that is sort of a reality check for people here when we come into the contact with the planet of Saturn. 444 444 444 across all my clocks here. This is Stacy Dread, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community. With this square to Saturn, it also brings in a sort of choice point. So squares always give us the opportunity to take action on something. And this is going to be a reality check where things from the past come in, and because we're in retrograde, it's not going to come to a conclusion very quickly. We might have to sit with some of these ideas and sit with some of the choice points until we are out of this retrograde cycle and having clarity and able to move forward. So especially if you have a lot of Sagittarius energy, Gemini, this is not a great time to make big decisions as far as spending money or, big purchases. Just time to hold off on that if you can. Obviously, if it's something you've been working up to for a long time and like your car is broken and you can't do anything but spend money on it, then spend money on it. But if you are, filled with this type of, if this message is coming across to you strongly, hold off on signing contracts. Hold off on leaving or entering relationships. There's still more work to be done here. And so there has been a little bit of the past coming in and grabbing hold. And one of the things that we really can do is to just try and detach from the answers right at this moment. Detach from finding clarity. I know that sounds crazy, but you got to kind of enjoy this moment also when when we're in a gooey phase too, because you don't know what's gonna kind of come up in the goo if you can just be in it. So detaching from finding ultimate answers, detaching from taking the final step on something until we are out of this retrograde cycle may or may not for you be what's coming through for you intuitively. So always follow your own guidance and what is coming through for you there. I have a ton of Sagittarius energy in my chart, and so I'm feeling this strongly. And happy birthday to our fearless leader here at KPOV. We have a Sagittarius birthday in the house. Happy birthday, Linda, and to the rest of the Sagittarius folks out there, November born, December born. You're all a bunch of honest, adventurous, brave people to me. The Saggies it's that fire. There's a bravery and a courage to fire signs. So if there is something coming up for you in terms of getting brave about stepping up into the adventure of your life, like this is a good time to harness that energy when we have it in Sagittarius. And another beautiful thing that is supporting all of this Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is the new moon in Sagittarius falls during this retrograde also. And this is going to be, let me get my other chart up. So if you're curious about the degrees of the Mercury retrograde, and those of you that are keeping track of this in your birth chart, it's like 22 degrees of Sagittarius, and we are returning back to about 16 degrees. No, 6 degrees. It's usually about a 15 to 16 degree span there. So we're starting at the 22 degree point, going back to about 6, I'm going to say. Oh my gosh, my math's probably wrong. I'm terrible at math in my head. And then we're going to scour our way back up to that 22 degree point in Sagittarius. Okay, so moving on to the new moon. That is on December 1st. What a beautiful entrance into our calendar month. It's during the 4th moon cycle during the final moon phase. And so this is a true closing out. We're coming in, we're closing out, and we're starting new. It's right up until that new moon happens at 9 degrees. 9 degrees, 32 minutes of Sagittarius. And this is where we get to have our true quiet moment with our intuition and decide and make some choice points and move forward with the vibe on what this next round of Sagittarius energy is going to be about for us. What's this next moon cycle going to be? How are we going to step up into this life adventure? How are we going to speak to ourselves? How are we going to create the philosophies around our life? What type of grand visions do you have that you are just burning with desire to take steps on and to be brave and courageous and start? This Sagittarius new moon is begging us to use our inner wisdom. There is so much wisdom, so much strength to Sagittarius. It's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is the god of all gods, and it's the gifter of everything. Good luck is really rounded off here in the sign of Sagittarius. So it's generally positive, forward moving, enthusiastic, optimistic, really playful, joyful, and able to land those arrows of truth right on target. And let it be known that sometimes these arrows of truth that the Sagittarius deliver, and this energy delivers to us, it's not always the truths that we're looking for, right? So when we're going through a retrograde cycle, Jupiter and Mercury both here in retrograde, ruling this new moon, ruling this Mercury retrograde, we're going to get something dug up from the depths. Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and when it goes into retrograde, is said to, in ancient times, and the energy around Mercury follows this in modern astrology, that Mercury goes into the underworld while in retrograde and communes with the gods of the underworld, and then returns and brings back the messages there. So, I mean, do you always get messages from the underworld? No. Is it something that we can use and be confident and step up into this new adventure and be brave about? Yes, we can all do that in our own ways, and we all do. Sagittarius wants people to live their own truths. That's ultimately Sagittarius job. There is a lot of teacher energy in Sagittarius. It's like the counselor, somebody, some kind of energy that guides. It's a guide here, and the actual astrology is ruled by the sign of Sagittarius. So, coming to the astrology and looking for the messages and diving deep here. Mars is also slowing down at a massive rate to station retrograde later in December. So with both Mercury and Mars slowing down, that's our mind and our physical body. There is going to be a need to slow down and take care and listen and be patient and be in the moment and sit with things, not always looking for the answer, not always looking to scour the details, but trying to feel into things, trying to create that grander vision. You almost have to use Buddha eyes during this time. And what I mean by that is when you look at the little statues of the Buddha, are his eyes wide open? No, they're like little slits, and those are the Buddha eyes. That's in order to sort of blur out your physical world a little bit and allow the intuition to play. And that's another reason why I love to bring in these NASA audio clips that we can do a short meditation on and try and pull some of these messages out of the deep here. So we're going to listen to a 30-second Jupiter audio clip. This is the actual audio that they recorded from the frequencies being emitted from the planet. NASA caught this audio. So let's do it. So Jupiter is, like I mentioned, the god of the gods, the king of kings, the lord of lords when it comes to the solar system here. And Jupiter is in a sextile with Chiron. So ultimately, the work that is being done right now is digging through our immortal wounds. It's digging through the deep, dark stuff that we weren't really interested in looking at anyways. So be gentle with yourself and, with the other people that are around you, because we're all going through this together, and we just want to lean on each other for support and ease into things instead of hardening in, try and soften a little bit into this. And thank you so much for being tuned in today. I really appreciate you being here and being part of this cosmic community with me. And I will be talking to you again soon. Have a lovely holiday. Take care. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.